I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending October the 18th and 19th, with some Saturday trade here again for the third week in a row. Brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. Joplin's got their big sale on Mondays. That's when they sell all the feeder cattle, and you can get an order in there. You can log on to dvauction.com and watch and bid on their sale every Monday morning. It's one of the few places you can get a lot of cattle of every weight and class right there. I tell you what, they've got plenty of cattle to go good enough to go north. They've got commodity cattle there if you want some cattle that'll hedge. If you want some little peewee light cattle to turn out on wheat, they'll have them there at Joplin Regional Stockyards. And you guys don't be afraid to get on there and watch their sale at dvauction.com. If you don't feel comfortable bidding right there, call in there, get a hold of an order buyer. There's plenty of them to go around. But don't forget Joplin Regional Stockyards. They'll have big high volume sales on a Monday. Got Deja Vu again. It seems like every time we get this deal rolling, we have some kind of an accident with one of these big packing plants. And if you guys have ever been around people that work in a factory or a big packing plant or something, you normally see them wear jackets or something that are gifts to them from not having had a accident for years, many times, or weeks. These packing plants are having big time accidents and hurting people on a regular basis. And the main people that it's hurting is your farmers and ranchers, your producers, your cattle feeders out here, but it's also hurting the workers in there. So on Thursday morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, had an explosion at the Cargill Dodge City plant there, and injured 2 workers. One of them burned up pretty good. We still haven't had any reports of how they're doing, but you know, it's hurting people out there. Not sure why all of a sudden we're having so much problem here with the plants, but once again reminded us how vulnerable we are, and once again it was used to stop a market rally. Maybe the last time with the Holcomb fire, we weren't really in a rally. We were kind of in a holding pattern, trying to hold things together as long as we could. But we've had a rally here for the last 6 weeks or so, gaining a lot of good ground, and it stopped, and a lot of it due to the explosion at Cargill Dodge City. They weren't able to kill all day Thursday, all day Friday, or Saturday. It wasn't in the main plant. It was in an outbuilding there. And you know, initial reports said that they thought they'd be closed Thursday and be up and running on Friday. But it's amazing how they can drag their feet on this deal. But I have talked to some guys that have cattle scheduled in there Monday morning. So hopefully here on Monday we'll be able to get that thing back up and running and get back to normal. But it did kind of put a hiccup in our rally we had going. What else is going on? The week started last week with news of that phase 1 trade deal with China, where they're due to buy 40 to 50 billion dollars of our ag products. We're not sure how much, if any, of it is going to be raised in beef, but we were pretty sure it's going to be quite a bit of pork, because they've had so much problem with that African swine fever over there, and lost a significant amount of their herd, and they're going to be scrambling looking for meat. And you know, if they take it from a lot of that protein from somewhere else, we'll still be able to fill back in the vacuum that's left behind that. What else is going on? Luke Branquino's brother admitted that he's a damn fool on a Burger King commercial. But I don't know how many of y'all know that, but the cowboy in the Burger King commercial that you've seen, if you've been watching football or anything that a red-blooded American would watch, you know, they're going after us guys. They're going after your meat lovers, not necessarily the vegetarians or the people like that, the tree huggers. They're going after your normal people, and now they're getting sucking in people like him. And I tell you what, you know, from a ranching family there in California for a long time, it's just hard to believe that they'd sell out and join in a commercial like that promoting fake beef. But anyways, I guess to each his own. Let's talk about the board for last week, your live cattle futures October. Monday was up 117, Tuesday it was up 37, Wednesday up 135. Hey, we're rolling along there pretty good. Thursday even up a nickel, thinking that Cargill explosion was going to blow over, but then when it didn't, Friday, of course, some profit taken too, down $1.92, with October live cattle futures ending the week at 110.47. December ended the week at 113.62. Feeder cattle for October, Monday up 145, Tuesday off 55 cents, Wednesday up 22, Thursday down $1.02, and Friday down 70 cents, with the October feeder cattle ending the week at 143.50. November ended the week at 142.85. Your fat cattle trade for the week, well, through Thursday, we had only sold 10,000 head of negotiated sales in your 5-area feeding region, which is not uncommon. We've been having most of our trade at the very tail end of the week. But it was all higher. We knew we were going into a higher week, and on that 10,000 head, it was spotty around 110, 111, 112, 175 up to 178 on a dress basis. But on Friday, we had some more significant trade. Iowa sold about 10,000 head. The live sales there ranged 108 to 112, mostly 111, and some dress sales from 173 to 176. Mostly on the higher side of that, or in that 175, 177 range in there. But Nebraska had some sales, 17,800 head on Friday. That's pretty significant. These are confirmed sales through mandatory price reporting. Their live sales are from 109 to 111 and 173 to 175. So pretty heavy on the 173 there in Nebraska. Southern Plains, about 9,000 head confirmed there, all at 108, which was $1 lower. Now the Northern Plains sales, not a lot of live trade there. It's going to be close to steady. Your dress sales in the Northern Plains are still going to be about $3 higher, because if you remember, the previous week we were mostly at 170, and this past week a lot of 173. So we did have some more sales on Saturday. It was Western Nebraska, and they've kind of been, selling at a premium. Go into those Wyoming lots, some of Colorado up in there, but they had 111 trade on Saturday morning out west. So that's pretty good, and that would be steady with what they had the previous week. So the Southern Plains lost $1, but the Northern Plains held it together pretty good, and the Northern Plains is short of market-ready cattle. The so-called wall that we thought we were going to have to fight in the Southern Plains, it's pretty much over too. Now Kansas has still got several cattle to go around on the show list, but now your Texas Panhandle looks to be getting tighter on numbers. So it's going to kind of even out, and it looks like if we can get past this dang accident that we had at another one of these packing plants and get back to rolling, we've got a few more weeks to gain some ground before we get into that Thanksgiving deal, because our box beef cutout values are back gaining ground again, and they should gain here for the next few weeks until we start getting close to Thanksgiving there. Box beef cutout values for last week, your average choice cut, your weighted average on the week's volume last week was 217.93, and that was $3.81 higher than the weighted average from the previous week. Your selects, 191.56 on the average trade for last week, and that was up $4.67 from the previous week. Now at the end of the week, we were about steady, about even with that on the choice cuts, about 218 right in there. Your selects are actually about another $1.50 higher than that. So we're starting to see that choice select spread narrow a little bit. On your average trade for last week, it was still over $26, but on your spot trade for the day on Friday, it was more narrow than that. But pretty good movement last week of 639 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter is a little bit jacked up there, because we didn't really get all the effects of that Cargill Dodge City plant being shut down. Your week's trade showed that your weekly volume of harvest is going to be down about 3,000 from the previous week and up about 10,000 from the same week a year ago. But it's going to be revised a lot, so we really don't know what's going to happen because of so many things going on with that plant being dark there for 2 main days of the week, and then your Saturday also. Let's talk about your feeder cattle trade. Your cash feeders in your auctions last week, cattle going right into the feedlot, $1 to $3 higher. And the bulk of those are sold Monday through Wednesday. Now your late week sales, we're still selling awfully well, so we're not sure if the plant explosion is going to affect that, but it really didn't affect it too much on feeder cattle as of yet. Now weaned calves in the central part of the United States, fully steady, and starting to get a lot of those bigger runs of calves, a lot of calves starting to move, especially in the northern plains, and a lot of those one iron reputation deals are starting to move. So those are bringing the big price when they show up. But if they've either got a heck of a good reputation and buyers that's had them before that want them back again, or else they got all the bells and whistles with a 60-day wean, 2 to 3 rounds of shots, and even and quality to burn. But your balling calves, your calves that haven't been worked, any of them that's got bulls on them that aren't weaned like that, I tell you what, it's hard to tell what the discount's going to be on those. You're pretty much at the mercy of those buyers that are there, and if they need to fill in some gaps around, and if they can stand some of those balling calves, but they want to buy them at a significant discount, not just a little bit, but 20, 25 bucks, 100 cheaper than what your top calves are bringing. So if you guys want to give that up, don't worry about working and weaning your calves. But out in the southeast, where we're shipping those cattle in, we've got just about enough time to get some calves warmed up. If you're buying them in, shipped in for your wheat pasture, and there's going to be a lot of wheat pasture, had a lot of timely moisture right when that wheat was sowed, and it's going to be pretty rank, guys. And guys, you know, it'll keep those guys awake at night if they don't have something out there grazing it. So they're going to have some cattle out there to graze that wheat pasture. And so your southeast was steady to $4 higher on light calves. And I know it's hard to get the market out of there sometimes. I talked again this week with Ellison Carter, big shipper there in Central Texas. And he gave me kind of a rundown of what he shipped out this past week, and gives you an idea what you could order some calves for delivered to the Texas Panhandle or western Oklahoma, where your hard red winter wheat region is. But he told me about some steers and bulls. Number one, Okie types, be sure good enough. 3 to 350 pounders, selling from 154 to 160, delivered to the wheat pasture area. Some slightly plainer, some kind of 1.5s. Might be a few crossbreds on them, might be a few plainer cattle on them, but still sure good enough kind. 4 1/4 to 550 pound steers, 135 to 140 delivered. 550 to 600 pounders, 128 to 135 delivered. Talked about some heifers, some of those same kind of 1.5 type heifers, maybe a few crossbreds, but none more than a quarter ear, and maybe a few plainer types on there, but for the most part be pretty good kind of cattle, good enough. 350 to 450 pound heifers, 125 to 130 delivered, some 550 pounders from 110 to 112, and he told me about a load of 500 pound black and Charolais heifers there with no more than an 1/8 ear, 500 pounds delivered for 120. That still sounds pretty cheap, guys, and if those won't work, there's going to be a lot of us in trouble. But if you're interested in anything like that, you can get in touch with those guys at EllisonCarterCattle.com. Let's talk about some other quotes from around. Now, most of your top quality 5-weight steers in the central part of the United States, especially up in the northern plains and in the mountain states, those 5-weight top quality steers in big bunches are bringing in the 150s. So that kind of gives you an idea. And really, that's not much different than what those fall delivery calves were bringing back whenever they sold them on the big videos back in the summer, if you remember that. But been a lot of things happened since then. It's went down and it's kind of come back up. But that's kind of where we're at, right in the 150s. They had a big calf special. I told you they're going to have big calf sales. They had one Friday at St. On's, and the next 2 Fridays, St. On's, South Dakota. But they sold 183 head of 664 pound steer calves at St. On's, bring 153.50. That'd be a top price. And then some bigger kind of steers, feeding steers. They might still be calves as far as the calendar goes, but what else are you going to do with them? You got to go to feed with them. 82 head of 823-pound top quality steers in St. Ange, $154. I talked to Brandon Fry out there. He's been helping them at Centennial Livestock Auction out there in Fort Collins, Colorado. On Thursday, they had a good sale there, and I tell you what, the development is trying to get that Centennial Livestock Auction. I'm surprised they're still doing it, because they could probably sell that property there by the square inch. But they're still holding big sales there and determined to hang in there, and Daddy won't sell the farm anyway, not yet. But in Centennial Livestock, Fort Collins, Colorado, 122 head of Saratoga, Wyoming heifers in there, sold for feed. Big string of them weighing 748 pounds at $148.50. That's a look at your week's markets. We'll talk to you next week.